Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great show, and we want to talk about one more thing here before we let you guys go. Rocket League started as a community. It started as a bunch of people that loved this game, and we built this esports scene from the ground, and then Silence is like, hey, these people love it. Let's make a big old tournament around it, and here RLCS was born. But these communities still live and thrive online mostly, and so we're going to talk about some of these communities and where, you know, if you want to get plugged into the Rocket League community just as a viewer or as a volunteer, a lot of these organizations run entirely on volunteers. So we're going to talk about some of them. The first one we want to talk about, Pro Rivalry League, probably one of the biggest, most robust organizations that is going on right now, and they run tournaments all week long for all sorts of different things here, mostly 3v3 and 2v2 as you can see, but Mondays, Saturdays, and Sundays you can see the prize pools and the times there in front of you. This is one of the, they do not just Rocket League, they do a lot of different games too.
Yeah, but yeah, and Rocket League is where we mostly care about.
Yeah, for sure.
To be honest, but yeah, they run tournaments where if you're looking to compete as a player, pros play in these tournaments as well, especially PRL. PRL is probably one of the most prestigious Rocket League community groups that runs tournaments, but also that's where a lot of casters get started, admins get started. Like if you're looking to start breaking into the scene in Rocket League for any reason whatsoever, you start out going to one of these community groups and just getting involved. And so PRL, they run those weekly tournaments, so if you're just looking to compete, check it out. If you're looking to get involved in any way, check it out.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Shice, I mean, he's a great guy. He's the guy over in charge of PRL. He's still,
Is he the CEO of PRL?
Is he the CEO? I think so. No, owner?
I don't know.
Founder? He is. He's in charge, at least. There's two guys at the top.
President.
He's one of the two at the top.
Okay,
and,
so he's the vice president or the president?
I think take president.
I think he's the totalitarian dictator, right?
Totalitarian dictator, that worked too. But yeah, he does still owe me a 144 hertz monitor. So if you're out there, Shice.
Called out. Called out on RLCS Overtime. He just called out the head mage of PRL.
The head mage.
Yeah, let's keep on.
That's a good one. I want that title.
Yeah, that's why I want the Master Chief.
But just to continue what James is saying, I mean, these are all these are all volunteers usually, almost solely volunteers. I mean, I know that's how I met James. But we met. He was on part of the RLC, and I was part of PPL, which is another tournament we were running, the Pulsar Premier League. And like we were both kind of like just having fun and loving the game. That's how we got to meet a lot of the pros, trying to put up money for these prize pools and organizing these things. And there's something really cool about just like everybody doing it for free and for fun.
Everyone did it for fun because they just loved the game.
Yeah.
And it made for an awesome environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could move on to talk about Nexus is the next league we want to look at here. They're running a tournament in July on the 1st, I believe, $1,000 summer invitational for 16 teams. That one you can't sign up for, but for their other stuff, you can see there 1v1s, 2v2s, and 3v3s. No matter what your format is that you enjoy, especially if you live in North America, here in Nexus, you can sign up for those and compete. Little prize pools all around. And yeah, this is where I got started. Not in Nexus particularly. I got started in a 2v2 tournament called Ghost Boosters. That was the first tournament I ever casted.
These tournaments, though, you see 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3, varying prize pools. So a lot of times, some of these tournaments will overlap sometimes, but really, if you're trying to become a pro in Rocket League, you play in these tournaments. This is really where you start. You go to Shift Pro League, you go to Nexus, you go to PRL, and you play in those online tournaments.
Yeah, I can explicitly remember being a part of Carpet's PPL, right, the Pulsar Premier League, and I remember being on stream and playing in those tournaments, and that's where you really start to kind of feel a little bit of self-importance as a player. It's like, hey, look, I'm actually competing, I'm actually being relatively successful. Maybe I can have a shot at joining the RLCS, and you know, whether you retire from from playing and go into casting or adminning, like you said, I mean, moving through these community organizations is definitely one of the best ways to get involved with it.
One of the fun things about these communities is that it is a complete blend between the amateurs and the pros. And so, like, you know, you look at Dapper and you look at the boys on Selfless, who came in after the end of season 1 of RLCS, just playing in community tournaments as momentum, and completely surprised everybody. We'd never heard of these guys, and then they started beating all these pro teams and winning all these community tournaments, and then that's how they got the light to get picked up by Selfless, and now we've seen them competing in the RLCS stage. These tournaments are how you get onto this stage, whether as a caster or as a tournament organizer or as a pro player. So it's fantastic to see that this is how this is structured here.
And tournament mentality is so much different than ladder mentality. If you're just climbing a grind rank, you're going to play significantly different than if you're in a tournament setting. There's a certain style you have to apply, and generally when you're on ladder, you'll play safer, you'll play a little bit slower because you're just like, oh, I just don't want to lose any rank points, right?
Sure.
But it's way different where, like, next game we lose, we're done. Like, we're out of the tournament,
and it's
we're
not
in the
just
lowers.
one game, right?
Yeah.
It's generally a series of games. And you see it even in the RLCS. Pretty much any team can take a game off of another team, but winning a series is something completely different.
And we can move on to talk about the Shift Pro League, another one of the communities here that runs tournaments on a weekly basis you can compete in. They also have, I believe, an invitational of some sort. It's a 24-team tournament here called #FeelsOldMan. I love that. That is also on July 1st. So then they also run Battle Car Pacifica. What a fantastic name.
That one's
These guys have my favorite names.
Yeah.
The West Coast server friendly, which for me is important.
Yes.
And Quinn, like being in the Bay Area, East Coast servers are not necessarily the greatest for us. The ball kind of warping around a little bit. So it's nice getting to have West Coast tournament options.
Right.
Yep.
All these community tournaments definitely offering something different, whether it's the time or, like that Feels Old Man tournament, something for us to compete in, right?
Sure.
There's variety. There's
definitely
variety. And
so
options if you're trying to get involved.
Well, I think one of my favorite options, the next one I want to talk about here, minor league doubles. I think a lot of people would look at these tournaments and be like, I know I'm not good enough to compete in any of these. Well, we have a league for you here. This one, I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to compete if you're champion or higher here. I'm pretty
I love
certain
the
about
ML
that.
double.
Which means that you have to, they use a whole draft system where, like, based on your average rank, you are given kind of a worth, and then captains will draft you onto a team. And the cool thing about this league is the teams don't change. So they have like the Bears and like the Pirates and the Rhinos, the Ducks, yeah. And it's like every season it's the same teams, and they all have their own Twitter accounts, and they like banter back and forth. And who plays on those teams? Cloudfuel plays on one of these teams. I know DMR Rawlings, guy does our stats, also plays on one of these teams. They love to. The teams do not change. Like the players change, but the team names don't change. So if you're a Bears fan, you could always cheer for the Bears. You know, it's a super cool thing.
It's a really cool dynamic that a lot of orgs don't have, or I guess tournament organizations don't have, particularly because there's always rosters. Like just separating, and players want to be their own identity. Everyone wants to come up with their own cool name or their own cool logo.
Like
so it's one of those like the Muffin Men, right?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of style of like, you know what? We're gonna do it all for you.
Yeah.
You just play.
Yeah, we've got the franchises here.
Yeah.
We've got the names, we've got the logos, we got your Twitter
They
followers
put
already.
so much effort into it.
Yeah.
And it shows. Like if you go to their Twitter, they have like their banner is like all the champions from the league that are from every season, and they make a big deal out of the drafts. Anytime there's a roster move, all the teams talking trash because there's every team has their own Twitter handle.
Yeah.
So ML doubles is a lot of fun. It's not necessarily like the best of the best pros.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking to have a good time and play, and even just follow a scene that's not necessarily a bunch of super elite pros, but just people having fun playing the game purely for the passion, then ML doubles is the organization.
Yeah, and you kind of get almost like the pro experience of like I get a Twitter followers and like I have a team and like a name and I get a jersey and like a logo to wear myself kind of thing, a history that you come from that you're getting incorporated into, so it's great. And if this doesn't sound like your thing, Ascending Champions, another organization that competes with diamond tier and below players specifically, it's another thing that you can try to get involved in. So there you can see 3v3s at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, Ascending Champions. New one here that I'm not as familiar with, but they are definitely making a name.
And it's just cool, like we were saying before, just the amount of variety that there is in the community. Really, like no matter how old you are or like how good you are at the game, like there is a spot for you in one of these community organizations for you to get involved, whether you're trying to play or just help out, just be involved in general. So, and the Rocket League community, I've played at several games like Halo, and some other console shooters, and by far, Rocket League is like the best community that I've ever been a part of. So
that is, I think all the pros. I mean, you saw at LAN when Northern Gaming had won, and then they like pulled back on the camera, and like all the players from the tournament come in and like hug them on the stage. Like I've never seen that at any other esports event where like the community is as tight as it is in Rocket League.
And it's from like the top down.
Yeah, from
like
the top down.
Everyone in the community is so helpful towards one another.
It really came down to people that I think started it. You look at Cloudfuel's one of the big people. I don't think it's possible for us to give props to that guy as much as he deserves.
Yeah.
But, when you have someone as kind-hearted as that, and he built this kind of group of people that looked out for each other, and that just bred more of that, and it just more and more and more. And as the community grew, everyone is just there to look out for each other, and that's why all these tournaments are coming from. I love that there's tournaments that you literally can't be the best at. Like you can't be champion. We don't want you here. You're too good. We want to win some and play some fun games, and just being on an equal playing ground. It doesn't matter how bad you are. It's just fun. You just want to have some fun with other people that love the same game that you love, even if you don't have the time to grind out and put in 50 hours a week. And that's like it's such a cool thing to be a part of, to kind of I reminisce a lot, particularly with you, James, because like we met on that kind of playing field. We're like,
the first cast ever was the PPL.
Yeah.
And it was.
That was the first time I casted with you,
it was
too.
rough.
Also
Yeah, the very first time I casted with you guys was that org that I was running, and like it was so much fun. It was like just, and we were doing it because it was a blast. You know, we loved the game. We knew a lot about it. And we're like, you know what? Let's just cast this. And that's when we got to cast people like Quinn, and a lot of pros were in that league as well. People like that guy. People like Orange Creamsicle.
Oh, those are the days.
We could go on for a long time here reminiscing about the old days, but it's been a fantastic episode of our RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be here again, same time next week for Carpet, James Bach, Quinn, and myself. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good week.